Hi, I'm Holly Williams. Welcome to Holistic Life. Hey friends, welcome to Holistic Life. I'm Holly, and today we're going to talk a little bit about yoga anatomy in the feet and the process of embodiment. So the purpose for embodiment and feeling the body in movement is so that we can deepen our practice by bringing awareness, consciousness, visualization into certain parts of the body, specifically as we move. So today we're talking about the feet, and I have provided two tracings of my own feet, and we're going to draw a couple pictures. You're welcome to follow along and draw on your own feet as a kind of like a way to embody your own feet, feel your own feet, know what they feel like in space, how they feel when we put weight into them, and it's a process. So the process of embodiment is a being process. So really just feeling how you are in that moment. It's not so much a doing process. It's an awareness process where the guide and the witness, so you leading yourself and you also feeling what's happening, come together in what's called cellular consciousness. It kind of goes beyond thought, and it's more about feeling and knowing. So visualization and somatization provide steps to embodiment. So visualization is the process where the brain imagines aspects of the body, and in doing so informs the body that it exists. So a simple thing, I touch my shoulder, I now imagine what the shoulder feels like in movement, and then you can replicate those movements simply by understanding what it feels like. Somatization is the process where movement, position, and touch inform the body that it exists. So using movement, using visualization, and by using touch, we can have a good idea of where we are, what we feel like, what's good, what's bad, and then we can really embody our practice. So, how do we do this? So I love to just place little pieces of information that as you practice, maybe these pieces of information pop up and you go, oh, I understand how that feels. So as far as anatomy of the foot, I'm not going to go into full detail about all of the bones, all of the joints, what each piece is, but I am going to give you a good idea of the basic structures of the foot and how we can feel into those structures of the foot to better inform our personal practice. So we have 26 bones in each foot. There's lots of little bones. Actually, the smallest bones in our body are in our foot. Some of them are in our ears, but a lot of the small bones reside in the foot. So with those 26 bones, we have 4 arches. So if you would like, maybe you want to draw your own feet, or maybe you want to draw directly on your feet. That's kind of a fun way to feel where these things are. So looking at my own feet, I'm going to use red. Hopefully you can see this. We have the foundations of these arches. We have the pad below the big toe. We have the pad below the little toe. We can also call those mounds, like a mound. So we have a big toe mound and a little toe mound. We also have an inner and outer corner of the heel. So we have the 4 corners of the feet. Those are like the foundation in a house. There's always corners. Maybe there's posts in those corners, and then you lay structure across those posts, and then you start to build foundation. So now we can connect these four corners, and then we start to see how our arches create structure so that we can hold weight in our feet. So we have an arch between the big toe mound and the little toe mound. So right here in the bottom, so this is considered an arch right here because it holds weight. You can actually press into the middle of the arch and you notice that the outsides kind of mold around that, creating an arch. So looking somewhat like this, where we have an arch, so big toe mound to little toe mound. There's also an arch between the inside of the heel and the outside of the heel. That's kind of right here, if you were to look at your foot, kind of right above the heel, so outside and inside of the heel here, and there's an arch right in there. So you can press into there, and then that translates into the top of the foot where the bones of the legs then go into the top of that arch and it holds weight. We also have two longitudinal arches, so the longer arches of the foot. So the inside arch of the foot, that's the one that we're most familiar with. And then the outside of the foot is also considered an arch. So structurally, these arches all have what's called a keystone. Now, with each arch, this is what each arch, of course, this is a structural arch. You can imagine like an old building where they would take rocks and they would start from the bottom, build those rocks up, and then that very middle piece is called the keystone. You have to have the keystone because it holds the weight of either side. So my arrows here, we have weight that goes up from each bottom of the arch. Weight goes up, meets in the middle of that keystone, that very middle part, and they meet so that weight can go down. That creates the structure of our foot. And we have four arches, so we have lots of structure in the foot that allows us to hold weight evenly, equally, with comfort. And you can really notice how you hold your weight if you move between each one of those corners. It's very interesting. So we have the four corners of the foot, but we can also think about how those four corners create structure not only in between each corner, but as those four corners come together, imagine a pyramid. The top of that pyramid, that's considered a keystone, and weight can go down into that top equally into each four of the corners of that pyramid so that the structure is sound. There's equal weight so that no one corner is holding any more weight than the other. And this structure in the foot translates up into the bones of the legs, into the knee, up into the pelvis, hips, spine, all the way up the spine, into the neck, and into the crown of the head. So nice, good structure in the feet translates all the way up. So talking about the structure of the foot, then going into ankle foot and heel foot. So our ankle foot is made of, we have our first three toes, so big toe, second toe, third toe. If we take our fingers, place them on top of those first three toes, trace those towards the inner ankle, and then our inner ankle then translates into the inner bone of the leg, into the knee, into the inner part of the top of the leg, into the inside of the pelvis, inside of the structures of the spine, neck, head, and up. So maybe press into those first three toes. Feel how those first three toes, maybe you feel a little bit of presence here. Maybe you feel something in your knee. Maybe you feel a little bit of muscle tightening here on the inside of the thigh as you press into those 3 toes. So that provides support on the inner part of the leg. And then the heel foot is where the majority of our weight is held. And that's in the last 2 toes. So the last 2 toes, let's place our fingers on top of the last 2 toes, trace back to that ankle, and then you can notice that that's where our weight goes into our heel. And we can trace that up outside of the leg up to the knee, outside of the leg up into the pelvis, where it meets the sacrum, back of the pelvis, into the spine, up into the shoulders, out of the arms, through the crown of the head, translating all the way up. But not only does it translate up, then our weight translates back down. So you see how it can connect up so that we can reconnect back into the earth. Now it's great to visualize this kind of stuff in standing postures, maybe a warrior 1 or 2, maybe even something as simple as mountain pose, Tadasana. Feeling weight equally maybe between our front of the feet and back of the feet, maybe even side to side. Noticing how weight feels in each one of those corners of the feet. It's really fun to play in these arches and feeling weight all around the feet. It's also really fun to smush your toes and really just feel how it all translates up through the legs, through the spine, and out the crown of the head. So moving on to the movement of the foot, we have supination, pronation, pointing, and flexing. Now pointing and flexing is we're pretty familiar with that. So we have a flex and a point, just like this, flexing and pointing. And we also have rotation, supination, and pronation. So we can turn the foot inward and we can turn the foot outward. Maybe if you want to move your foot this way right now, notice as you do this rotation, your entire leg rotates. So when you rotate your foot inward, so the outside of the foot kind of tucks in, your leg rotates inward. Your knee kind of goes outward. But you can feel this tone all the way up through into the front of the pelvis. And then likewise, when you turn that foot out, so the big toe is then lengthening away from the body, the baby toe is kind of rotating towards the body, you can really feel that tone up into the back of the pelvis. So move through a supination, pronation, and maybe a point and a flex. Pointing and flexing, really feeling the top and bottom muscles lengthening, shortening, and then with the rotation, feeling the side bodies of the leg, really feeling tone. So then I have a couple of little practices that you can do to warm up the feet for any movement practices, even if it's just to wake your feet up in general. Maybe you wake up and you have stiff ankles, or maybe your toes crack a lot. So a couple different tools you can use to help wake up the feet. The first and best one is just touch. Maybe just brushing the fingertips lightly over the top of the foot, feeling the toes. Maybe even going to the bottom of the foot, noticing the big toe mound, the little toe mound, maybe pressing into each individual toe. Maybe just doing a nice little foot massage, squeezing the heel, the outside, inside of the heel, maybe even squeezing towards the top of the toes, really noticing that arch. Maybe a couple little toe cracks, that always feels nice. Don't crack your toes, don't hurt yourself. But this is a great way just to, wake up the foot, notice the sensations on the bottom of the foot, and just to add some movement. Maybe putting some circles into the ankles. Again, pointing and flexing. But some common things you may have around the house. Tennis ball is always fantastic. Just putting that under the foot, rolling it around, maybe between the arches, big toe mound, little toe mound, noticing how your toes kind of mold over that ball, going from the baby toe to the outside of the heel, noticing that arch, that longitudinal arch, noticing the other longitudinal arch. I have some friends, I also experience some tension here in this big muscle between, or the tendon between the big toe and the heel. This is a really lovely way to kind of relax that muscle, wake it up a little bit, stretch it a little bit, put some gravity into it, you know, and then maybe just rolling it on the back of the heel. That feels really nice. You can also roll it on the top of your foot. You can go from ankle to big toe. You can go across the toes, maybe baby toe back to your other ankle. You can go all the way up the leg into the knee, doing a little massage in the knee. That always feels really nice. So tennis balls are really, really great. This is a smooshy ball. It has little things on it. Maybe you can see them. Yep, little spikies. So that's a really nice way to wake up the foot. It's real smushy. You can, you know, roll it around pretty easily. Maybe I love to pick it up with my toes. That's a really nice exercise for the toes. So any number of things you can do with this guy. Again, rolling it over the foot just feels really good. Maybe all the way up the leg, maybe all the way up into the pelvis, just noticing your connections. You can use a strap or a belt. You can always put the strap on the bottom of your foot and do some pointing, flexing, pronation, supination. That always feels real good. And then you can always notice connections in your knee, in your leg, pelvis, just by adding something as simple as a belt into your practice. That feels really nice. Big ball, maybe you have a big girty ball. That's always fun. Just really smushing your foot into there, picking it up with your toes again. It's always good to play. Roll that all over the place. That feels good. Maybe on top of the head and the face. And then maybe you have one of these, a nice stretchy band. Low or high resistance, your choice, whatever you want. But, you know, you can add some nice exercises in there. Really using the bottom of your foot. Again, pointing and flexing. Strengthening the connections from the foot, knee, into the hip. Really feeling presence there. All kinds of ways to feel the foot in motion, feel gravity in the feet. Just a simple standing posture. Feeling your weight in your feet. Noticing what they feel like. Understanding their connections with the legs into the hips, pelvis, spine, all the way up through the crown of the head, and then allowing that weight to equally distribute back down into your feet is a wonderful way to practice embodiment in your yoga practice, and really any practice that you may enjoy. Running, standing, sitting. It's all good stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this little tour of the foot. Maybe it will allow you to be a little bit more informed about what your foot feels like in your practice. And if not, maybe it was just a different way to look at the foot and, I don't know, get acquainted, know what it is. We got some other videos coming up soon. I'm going to do something similar for the spine, the lungs, and the skull, and then we'll see what comes in September. Other movement classes and breath classes are also available, so check that stuff out and find me on Instagram at Holistic Life. And maybe this practice would allow your life to be a little bit more holistic too. Have a good day, guys. I will see you later.